Ultra Chill. So, a quick word about Ultra. We're an entertainment platform based on blockchain technology. We have many of the key industry players on board already, and we're really excited to start onboarding some of our long-term users. We'll be talking about that in a second. Let's talk a little bit about what we've achieved recently. We have the Mainnet, which is recently launched. We're all super excited about that. This past week, we released the wallet-only client, so many of the users that have been waiting for years, they have Ultra in their hands already. They've created their own blockchain accounts, and some of them have even done the token swap, which really quite the achievement for Ultra. Really excited about it. I wanted to talk to Nicolas Gilot and David Hanson about what they've been building, why they've been building it. But let's start with a quick background from both of you guys. Who are you? Where are you from? How do you guys know each other? Go.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rami. Hi, everyone. So basically, David and myself know each other for roughly 20 years or so. So we've been playing Counter-Strike together, building teams. We are both from Belgium initially. And so we ramp up from game teams to like company teams and then essentially growing business after business. So we've been in the game space for now probably around 15, 20 years as well. And essentially we created multiple companies. So whether it's a mobile game studio, PC game studio, monetization strategy company, or even a game console with AMD, that was the latest project. And then we've been also in blockchain space for like a bit more than 10 years now. So yeah, it's been a while where we were just mining back then. But yeah, with that we started Ultra here close to 3 years and a half, soon to be 4 years ago, and we are still up and running.
Yeah, well, I mean, our career is intertwined. So I've been doing what he has done, and vice versa, and we've been playing in the same teams. And so, I mean, his resume is mine. But yeah, in short, I think I'm taking care of the platform design and kind of vision, and Nicolas is taking care of the operations and making sure that everything we do succeeds. And so we're co-CEOs. It's an unusual setup in many cases. For us, it's absolutely not unusual. It's the third time that we do this. And we have really well distributed roles. So when I have something, just like, for example, today, okay, we're designing something and I know it's going to have impact on the tokenomics of the platform. I'm not going to take the decision by myself. And so, I call Nicolas and we have this discussion, and then he gets a spreadsheet and then we can take a informed decision. So that's kind of like the dynamics that we have between us.
Yeah, it's actually something that I find really interesting. Having a co-CEO, I feel like, two heads are better than one, and you guys together work extremely well. I think the impact on the company at large has been excellent. It's been fun to watch the last couple of years. Thanks for the intro. Really appreciate it. Let's talk a little bit about what piece of gaming tech or blockchain news have you guys had your eye on the last week or two? Something that's caught your eye and you think will have a positive impact?
I think there's the elephant in the room, which is the new Steam console. I love it. I think it's fantastic for Ultra. So I've been, studying it a little bit. It's funny because we work with AMD, and AMD is really good at keeping secrets. So we, even though they've been working on it for many years, we never had this information, but now it's out. I can see, and they're like on LinkedIn, finally I can speak about it, and I'm like, yeah, good job, because it really makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. It's great for the PC industry, really fantastic. The fact that it is an open platform will allow us to publish Ultra on it. This will also allow Steam games, to be able to use our NFTs across the console. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, so essentially, totally. So Steam is totally been catching our eye since many years. So what they are doing is always interesting for us to look at, especially since we built a game console in the past, so we know what's the relation like with MD, how does it work, how do you get from start to finish, and that's a long way. What I found interesting recently was more on the NFT side. So we saw a lot of different large brands starting to be involved with different companies. I saw Coca-Cola just today. Like, okay, so that's exciting because we have this kind of discussion with many of the folks in the game space and the IT space as well, and we started to have those with brands, and you can totally see now that the large brands are also very excited by the space. So we are really happy that we will be able to provide a solution to those folks as well. That can be very beneficial for the space. So yeah, I found that pretty cool to see that because I guess it's we saw the NFT wave starting a few months back. It's started to collapse a bit, but actually now it's just really the beginning. It's really the first. As you can see, with the Bitcoin went very high, the bit and high, and bit and high, and all that. I think NFT is just the first wave, so very good.
Yeah, I mean, like brands like Shopify also, we saw like massive news supporting NFTs. So it's great because we know for a fact that there's going to be a lot of very interesting NFTs going on in the Ultra ecosystem, simply because we're working on them, not just the tech, but the deals that, you know, we're working on with NFTs. And so, and platforms like eBay and so on, eventually they're all going to support NFTs. And so it's really great because we're really creating kind of like a fabric where a new class of assets are going to be created. And, you know, the special NFT functionalities that we have will allow people to do things that are not possible with other NFTs. But the vision of NFT, which is, you know, once it's created, it can go everywhere, including on eBay, including on Shopify, etc., is really playing out. Like we're seeing it right now. It's happening. So I'm really happy because it positions our company in a really great place, and things are going to be fantastic for Ultra's future.
Well, that's kind of always been the dream, right? Like having decentralized base technologies, you know, the networks, which all of these platforms they plug into, you know, whether it's Shopify or whether it's Ultra or whether it's Steam or whatever. Yeah. In principle, they can all use the same networks, or in principle, they can use different networks all at the same time and kind of mix them together. And it's really exciting, you know, from a decentralization point of view.
Yeah, it's kind of like a metaverse of asset metaverse. Like they can go from one platform to another. It's very interesting. Yeah.
So you guys have been pushing really hard for quite a few years now. Is the Ultra project living up to your expectations? Where you guys are right now, are you happy?
I would say yes. We are still there, so that's already a very good news for a startup. Usually most of them disappear after a few years, so we are really good. I would say the way we are developing the platform is very special in a sense that we take an approach which is very secure, in a sense that what we do, we want to release something that is high value and doesn't break at scale. And that's tied also to a decision of working with partners. We could have started with, you know, very small and then expand from there, like many startups do, and then, you know, try and fail with products. Here we have an approach, since we built other products in the past, of it's very large, so you have to actually have a lot of different features ready at the same time to be competitive, because we compete with very large corporates. Actually, Google would be a competitor in a sense. Steam would be a competitor. So you have to raise a certain bar. So yeah, obviously development is very long. At the same time, it's the pipe, I think, that has been developed by our tech team is extremely good. We have all the right tools in place, and the processes are amazing, which allows us to really expand the velocity of our development. And here we're just only growing every month. So here we keep hiring a lot, and I think there is like 20 plus open positions. And yeah, that's just the beginning.
We've been hiring a lot recently. Is there anything that you guys are particularly interested in promoting? Just, like one or two of the positions which are open, which we really need filled. Maybe now's your chance.
Yeah, totally. I would say on the business side, so what we are looking for is a platform partnership manager, which is quite a high-scale position in a sense that the initial work is really to work on one specific part of Ultra, say Ultra Gifts, for example, or the I would say the ecosystem itself. So there are different pieces within Ultra, but the role is to evolve into managing the whole platform business management, which means that you have to understand NFTs, you have to understand how brands work, marketing, you have to be able to speak with MD and say, oh, okay, this is what we're going to do together, because on the Ultra games, we're going to have some games and you're going to provide your graphic cards and this and that. And at the same time, you have to think about the other side of the story, which is within the wallet, we want to have those NFTs that can be traded. So who will be the right partner for that? It's a very large position that requires a lot of brain power and connection and understanding of blockchain, game industry, ecosystems, and all that. But it's just a new position we opened recently, and obviously we want a high level of English, all these kind of things. But yeah.
If you're out there and you're listening to Ultra Chill, we're waiting.
Cool.
Actually, I think it'd be interesting to sidestep and talk a little bit about the processes that we go through. So, like my software development career and design and product career has been quite storied. And the structure that you guys have built within the R&D part of Ultra is really quite impressive. It's very structured. It's very thoughtful. The decision-making process itself, like whenever you have like a really complicated project and you have a lot of moving pieces and, especially if you're talking about external business requirements and then you have internal technical challenges, making decisions about how you allocate resources within a company, and really all companies, even like Microsoft or Apple, they have limited resources for any given thing that they're doing, and they have to like make smart decisions about how they move forward. Maybe you guys would like to talk a little bit about how that works at Ultra and like why we do things the way that we do, because I think that from like a external perspective, the way that other people see us, it's very opaque, but from an internal perspective, everything is really transparent. The way that the teams interact, the way that we interact, between R&D and business, there's a lot of interaction. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of, everybody talks to everybody all day long. How does that work for you guys?
Yeah. So I think one of the thing that keeps coming back is bang for buck. So you have a certain amount of resources, and Ultra's structure has been done. It's a business machine. Like you can do so much with it, but you can't do everything. So it's always bang for buck. So what we do is we have these big lines, these big directions like NFT, the application ecosystem, and within each of them, you have a lot of functionalities that we want to have. Oh, it would be nice, like NFT, okay, oh, it would be nice you can do auctions in that way. Okay, well, that's one bullet point in the list somewhere. And they keep growing. And so eventually what happens is we have these meetings, interdisciplinary meetings where the business and the vision, starts talking about what is the most important for like right now and what is the next most important for the next step and so on. And so at that point, everybody has their input. And then there's another thing that you need to take in charge is, okay, let's imagine we have auctions. Well, it turns out auction relies more on front-end development and blockchain development, much less on the back-end development. So it's not that if it's not because, okay, we want to do it right now that you can do it right away. You also need to see what is the capacity of, your workforce. So you need to look at, okay, actually we have more backend developers right now. And then we're like, okay, fuck. So what do we do? Okay, there's this other feature which is more relying on backend. And so there's a lot of things that you need to take in account. And, it's, you could say the more people you have, the easier it is. It's not the case, because you always have these gaps and you need to deal with these things. And so I think this has been, a challenge. And at the same time, the flow that we have right now, I think we can be very proud of it. Because in some ways, for the size of the company that we have, it would be possible to do it differently, more agile, but we wouldn't be ready for the scale of the company that we expect. And right now, I know there's like 20 some, people joining. I have no doubt it's going to be very smooth, because everybody, is going to join, is going to be onboarded precisely. We know that it's going to take time from that person and so on. So everything is very, like experience went through this, and the processes have been taken care of. And so we're ready for serious growth on Ultra's side.
Totally. I would say in terms of process, even at the recruitment side, so we improved a lot over the times. Mathilde is doing an amazing job. Is our head of recruitment. So she really has a good process, allowing us to save a lot of time. I think out of like, say, 1,000 applications, there are maybe 8 like hires, which is ridiculous, but it's just that the process is really well done, and hopefully she can cruise through everyone to find the real gems and then hire them. And even the process itself is well done for the people who apply for the work. There is a test, there is this, there is like different interviews. Everything is done through Lever, where we save all the information. They're all shared. It's really needed to have like talented people, to hire more talented people. Otherwise, you just run into so many problems, and that scale is critical. And I would say in terms of also process, what's pretty interesting is also so we are agile in a sense of the product definition, because sometimes so we see the trends, we see what's happening, we see how we can improve, and what's the priority is, and how should we change it, because sometimes after 6 months you're like, that's great, but maybe we should prioritize this instead because of those reasons, because of those partners. And we are in a company where we have the capabilities to do that, since all the processes are well thought of, and essentially we just say, okay, those are new features we're going to integrate, we're going to skip those one for the moment because they're not critical for launching this specific part of the platform. And so we have all those kind of meetings where we find all the different features. Okay, this one assembled really well together. That's going to be a nice product that is usable by the people, and they're going to be happy to use it. It's going to bring value to them. And this is really always an important time, because that's really setting what you're going to be in the next milestone. And it's always, I would say, a good discussion, because it's really important to find value in each milestone.
Yeah, it's a balancing act. It's a constant balancing act.
I wanted to talk a little bit about decentralization. We exist within the blockchain sphere, which there's a lot of different opinions about how centralized or how decentralized a project should be. And because of the nature of the work that we're doing, we have started, I think, along the spectrum towards more centralized and less decentralized. David and I have talked pretty extensively about how the path towards decentralization should go. And I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on like where our first targets should be for more decentralized approach to how our network is run, and maybe some thoughts in general about the value of balancing between centralized and decentralized.
I think decentralization is necessary is ideal in some situation and is unnecessary in some other situation. And just to be clear, there's multiple aspects around Ultra, because there's Ultra the blockchain, then there's Ultra game the service, there's the Ultra OS ecosystem. There's different things that are, different products in many ways. So when it comes to the blockchain, I'm always doing my best to have full decentralization, and everything we do in some areas is not decentralized, but it's been implemented in some ways to be decentralizable. For example, we don't have a governance system like EOS where anybody can vote who becomes the block producers. And the reason why we've done this is simply because there's been a lot of problems around this system. And for us, it was less of a headache to just say, okay, Ubisoft, do you want to be a BP? They say yes. Okay, there you go. You're BP. And that's what happens with our blockchain. Like we offer the possibility to be a BP, but once they're BP, they're a BP. Once it's done, they're the ones who are between BP, voting for protocol changes and so on. And so it is decentralized in that matter that, we're not, we can't say, oh, can you change, the balance of my account and put, no, because they would need to do like any other blockchain, there's this consensus required. So decentralization is there, but there's these key things that simplified and that the process, and also allow us to iterate much faster because there's less politics going on, which is the case, on other networks. And then there's another aspect where we're centralized, which is which allows us to provide free blockchain accounts. So on EOS accounts, basically, when you create an account, somebody needs to pay for this. And what we've done with Ultra is that we have this ability, and then we also have a path for you to get a free account, which is what you get when you register your account on Ultra. And this is a right that Ultra has. We can create an account without having to actually pay for EOS. And that's a central advantage that we have. But if you want, you can still buy your account on the side without even talking to Ultra, and that's perfectly fine. So these are kind of some balancing acts that allow us to provide services, free services, and so on, which for normal people and even for developers don't affect anybody's level. It doesn't affect even the trust level. Who cares if somebody received the account for free and another paid for it? At the end of the day, they have the same account and they have the same ability on the network, making transactions on the blockchain. And so these are really, I think, the two main points of centralization that I think matter. And there's space for us to solve that. For example, we could implement a way for anybody to vote for BPs instead of us choosing for it. And that would be, one upgrade that, by the way, we wouldn't decide. BPs would have to, decide and sign to permit the protocol update. And the same goes with accounts. We could say, well, now Ultra cannot do free accounts, and anybody needs to pay for getting access to the blockchain. But in this particular case, it's in nobody's interest. Everybody wants as many users on Ultra as possible, and this is something that this decision allows us to do. So that's on one end. Then you have on some certain service like Ultra games. If you look at the game, I give you an example, like GTA, for example. When GTA is released, the same day you have 5 million people buying that game. And these 5 million people, they all want to download the game straight away. So there's no way today in any way to have a decentralized file storage that could handle this level of network load.
Right.
It's just impossible. And so you need something like our file distribution solution, which rely on a CDN that is absolutely massive, that is global, that has petabytes of open bandwidth to be used, and that could deliver this kind of load as a piece of cake. And so these things, these are simple decisions for us because we're looking more at the user experience level. That's one side, but then there's also everything related to the legal aspect. Because if anybody can start publishing games by themselves on a CDN that can distribute these games worldwide without any verification whether or not you're the person that made the game, then essentially we would be asking Ubisoft, hey, publish your game on our platform, and their game would be next to the pirate version. So there needs to be, for the file distribution, like a gatekeeper that verifies, are you really Ubisoft? Give me some of your company documents, and then we verify, yes, it's Ubisoft. We sign a special blockchain transaction. You get access then to your ability to publish game. So these are where we rely into, like, some is centralized, some is decentralized. But again, like Ultra Games is really it's a private service that is decorrelated from the blockchain. It consumes the blockchain services, but just like anybody else could create their own game distribution platform based on our blockchain. Just like the NFTs that live on our blockchain, we use them to represent ownership of games. But tomorrow, Steam could decide, well, Ultra's NFTs are fantastic, we're going to use that for Steam, and it would be possible.
I would say another important aspect is the way we consume what we build. So everything that is built on Ultra is consumed by Ultra first. Same way Amazon does that. So they create their own solution and they're used internally, and after they open it to the world. And that's the same model we have. So we build what we know we'll be able to scale for mass market audience and needs for us first. And then we are like, okay, sure, that if this works for us, we can open it to everybody. The same way here, we are deciding who are the people who can publish games on Ultra. There is a world where it's possible that actually people who have reputation because they are using Ultra a lot, and we can see how much they purchased and all that, will be at some point able to make those kind of decisions, saying, sure, this is Ubisoft, and it goes through people who are judged in a sense because they have a high reputation on the platform. There is many ways we can actually improve the decentralization. It's just a matter of timing. And here, first thing first is we won't have the reliable platform who can deliver a mass market solution to the gamers and the users. And that's the same discussion we have with the big companies. They want something reliable. That's number one. Decentralization comes just after being reliable.
Well, I guess this is really, how development works, where you build feature after feature, and you have to deal with the foundational architecture first. And if you, change the way that you think about a decentralized network and consider governance as a feature and decentralization as a feature, then what we're building is a reliable architecture, a foundation, and then we're building, the decentralization and all of the extra stuff, which is important. It's not that it's not important, but from a perspective of stability, it comes second. And I think also what's interesting that you guys kind of talked about is the way that Ultra sees, the way that things are built from a UX perspective. And when I say UX, there are many users of Ultra. It's not just the users of the end client. You're talking about the users who are the developers or the users who consume the blockchain. And there has to be some understanding about end users to have accounts which are hard to purchase, or other resources, like CPU and net on the US mainnet. And when you guys built out the feature set that was expected for Ultra, a couple of years ago, and those kinds of things were, part and parcel, I think that from the perspective of end users who are large companies like Ubisoft or anybody else is going to be consuming the blockchain network, having access to something which is stable from a block production perspective is important. Having something which is reliable from a CDN perspective is important. I'd actually like to hear a little bit about the thought process that you guys have, which goes into identifying those specific kinds of UX bottlenecks, and then how that kind of feeds into that product machine that Ultra builds to make sure that the end product that we have is acceptable and applicable to the market.
I think it was very easy for us to identify where the pain points, generally speaking, in the blockchain industry was. Basically, anything you want to do with blockchain today, all different blockchain technologies, they all have like one or more weak points, which prevents them to become mainstream. There's no mainstream solution today that does things properly. And by saying doing things properly is you have your keys, there's no key custody, and you didn't have to pay your account of you have a way for recovery. There's like 6-7 check boxes that you need to check. You're missing one of them, you can't do mainstream. It's like, okay, if it's too complicated, you can't be mainstream. Your blockchain cannot handle more than this many transactions per second, cannot be mainstream. You can't have recovery, or you're using people's keys. That's like, this is not what blockchain is all about. And so these were things that day one, we had the list and we were looking for a blockchain solution, like, what is there that does that? There was none. And so we were looking for, okay, what is the solution that would bring us the closest to this? And, we leaned for EOSIO, but we had to change a lot of things on EOSIO, and that's why we built our blockchain. If somebody like Ultra existed back in the time, we wouldn't have built our own blockchain. We would have consumed this thing because it's a shitload of work. But it didn't exist, and so we built that. And this is so what we built for ourselves is usable by other people. And so that's a pain point that they don't need to deal with. And so I think that's something that's fantastic. Because, for example, even our NFTs, like we make this NFT and the whole blockchain, infrastructure behind and the data and everything. Tomorrow, Ubisoft can use it. Like literally, they don't need to speak to us. They can just go and say, oh, this is nice stuff. We use it. And this, we like this because it will contribute to our ecosystem. It's a good thing. Like if somebody like Ubisoft, Steam, or somebody like them start using our NFTs, it's great for everybody involved in the ecosystem, including us.
In terms of UX, go ahead.
I was just going to say that you make it sound like it was something that was easy and natural, but the truth is that within the larger blockchain industry, there's a lot of expectation that I don't even know how to put this, that users suffer. That they're like, they like a little. Just a little, that they are very tech savvy, that they understand the risks, that they are willing to jump through a lot of hoops. And the truth is,
$20 transactions.
Fuck. And the truth is that like, we're never going to go mainstream if that's the attitude. There has to be a lot of like forethought, a lot of understanding of how people really use technology, and making sure that we roll out the red carpet for them. And I really feel that like that's what you guys have built at Ultra. Like you guys have built the red carpet for mainstream adoption, and it's really quite impressive.
I would say the bare minimum you need to have for most market is don't change people's habits. If they have to change the way they are using something, then that's 1 in a million that actually succeed at that. Some does, like Apple, they release a phone and it's amazing. And sure, not everybody's a mobile phone. Sure. But that's Apple. So it's not like everybody does that. So it happens 1 in a lifetime. But here, in a sense, if you have a first requirement for being mass market, is that. don't change people's habits, don't change the people who should be like power users, like partners, companies who are using that. If they have the same experience but a better outcome, then you have a good shot at being very successful.
I would like to throw you guys a curveball. How about that? So over the last, I guess 6 months or so, we've seen some release slippage. Basically, when there's an expectation from the community about when we release any given part of the product, sometimes we hit that target, sometimes we don't. And this is your chance to address that.
So we were talking about like complicated process. There's a lot of people involved in the whole development process. The market's changing, new ideas come, and people we work with. Sometimes we work with partners. There's new deals coming, new directions. So it's always a balancing act. Another thing also that is has been something that has slowed us often down is that we're very cautious on the security side, and in many situations we realized that there was a better way of doing something that would have been more safe, and these incur additional work that wasn't planned. So the thing is, the reality is that there's a lot of wealth involved in the ecosystem, the cryptocurrency, the token swap, and it's something you don't want to fuck around with this. You want everything to be as solid as you can, and so there's been a lot of, like, just for the token swap, there's been a lot of discussions. Many meetings with different partners with whom we could work with, and so this is one aspect. And then even internally, there's a lot of automation, some of which involve signing transactions by a backend. Now, if the backend does that, there's a key, and maybe this key is signing things that are really important, like, for example, free blockchain accounts. You don't want this key to just be around, and so there's a lot of R&D involved, in what we do, because in many ways, we're doing things for the first time that nobody else has done, and so we're inventing continuously new things. And we're discovering also tech that nobody in the team has used, because very few people in the world has used it.
Which is super fun.
Which is super fun, for sure. It's time consuming. It's super fun, to get this latest special hardware that can store your keys in a special way where even you don't know what the key is, but it can sign for you. And then you have this problem. Yeah, but it can sign 16 transactions per second. And yeah, we're doing like thousands per second. So we need to, deal with each of these steps. And so the thing is, so the answer is, to answer you, it's more like it's complicated.
Super complicated.
But so I think that one big reason is it's a permanent R&D thing, and everything we've done at Ultra, we never shied away from complexity. What we want is, we want the best. Like, we're like, yeah, okay, we do this thing, yeah, but this thing is much better because after we can do this and this and this after. And this is something, it's kind of like development depth that you take. Okay, it's slowing you down, but the next month and the months after, these things are accelerating your development tremendously. And now Ultra has entered this phase where we're starting to be able to do all of these things that we said we could do without having to change everything. Like, I get a message, oh, we really need that. Okay, well, it turns out we can do it very fast because we have it all, figured out. We thought about this thing, and now you can actually use it. And so that's, I think, these are like the reasons on my side that have affected slippage.
Yeah, I think there is also a question of what is it you want to release, So we could have maybe put more efforts, for example, on the blockchain and release the blockchain first, and then not have a product around it. Here, this is really like the question of, does it make sense? Does it make sense for people to get access to that? Maybe not. It's not good enough. So sometimes here, the decision of the timing versus the quality is oftentimes not a question for us. We most likely go for quality. We don't really ask, okay, sure, but there's this specific date. Okay, but actually, if 3 months or even a year after we release this in another way, it's going to be so much better, because you don't really release a product 2 times, right? So the first time you release it, you want it to be good, and because all the eyes are on you. If you start working with the large companies and then they have a product on your chain and on your application, it better be good, because if it works well, then it doesn't stop, because people are saying, wow, this thing is amazing. I want the same. I also want to work with you. I also want to use your solution, because these large partners, they are super happy and they have tons of new users and revenue and all that. So that's, I think the driving force is really around that. Is you want to have something that makes an impact versus simply respecting a date because we set a date. And initially we were not the best at assumptions, because there was a lot of complexity and unanswered questions on how we're going to do it. We had the idea of, okay, this is what we want to do, but how we're going to do it, you learn on the spot, because it's a lot of R&D and new technology that nobody did before. So now that we are much further in the process, we're much more predictable as well, because we already done most of the complicated backbone. Now, as David explained, we consume sort of the first layer of structure we put in place to create features much faster that are all like doable, because we don't have to refactor everything and restart from scratch, change everything, because we already thought about what's going to happen, what feature we want in 4 years from now. For example, we know, oh, this is the plan. If we just see the backlog of potential things we want to do with Ultra, it's just, you would need, I think, not 20 people, but 2,000 more people to do all of them. So just now deciding what to do, but at least we know we can do most of them, or if not all of them, because the initial tech choice and direction we took.
Yeah, and I will add to this also to get back to what we talked about in the beginning in the process. Now we know for each developer, we know we have a score that we call the velocity score. So each team, each developer has like a team is made out of maybe 7 people, and we know that this team has a velocity of a certain amount of points. And now, we for each new feature, we can estimate the amount of work, and then we have a score, and then we know how much this team needs to do it. We know exactly how much time it's going to take. And to be able to do this in a predictable way, where it's actually, close to reality, you actually need to have a lot of experience. Like you need history, you need data. You need to, because when you start, you don't know what the team is capable of, at what speed and the level of complexity, and even them, they don't know. Nobody knows. And so you do it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and then after you start doing it 30, 40 times, you start to be more and more predictable. And we're at this stage where we can reasonably well predict when we're going to have this particular functionality because of this historical data. And that's very, very important, and that's part of like what makes our development team efficient in the task they have to do.
Yeah, predictability has been a big focus of the company the past, past year, past 18 months. Yeah. And I think it really shows. I think that a lot of the processes that have been built within the company are excellent. And especially because some of the people that have been working with Ultra, it's like 2-3 years now, their experience and the way that they work together, they've come together like really as a team, and there's a lot of cohesion, and their common experience has made for, I think, a better, more predictable product. I wanted to get a quick update from you guys about how you feel about how the Mainnet launch went, how the wallet-only client deployment went, and I think most exciting for our users, the token swap went.
Totally. I would say the Mainnet launch, we are not making the news, so that's a good thing. We didn't crash. There is no crap happen, no money lost, so that's always good. That's always a good Mainnet launch. So yeah, essentially the blockchain team did an amazing work, and everybody around them to support to launch this Mainnet. I think it's everybody was expecting it, and now people can start building on it. We already saw the first people who are starting building on Ultra. I think the Mainnet launch was really a success. No issue happened, and right now we took a bit of time to be able to plug the Mainnet to the platform, or the platform to the Mainnet, and now that it's done, you guys can start enjoying the wallet-only client, which is the really very first version of Ultra that's accessible to everyone. So it's important in a sense that before it was only people who have limited access, like 10, 20 people top, which means that obviously it won't crash because of performance. Here there is a lot of people on it and it doesn't crash either. So that's already for us a relief, seeing that the whole process works really well. And the important part as well is that now it's real. It's on the mainnet, so which means even the feeling of using the platform is different for the team in a sense that it's your actual username, it's your actual real US on the platform. Whatever you do has an impact. So the feeling even of using it is quite different. And I would say it's exciting because that's the first piece, and this piece will evolve for everyone to unleash new features over time, because there is no need to re-download a new application. It's just the same application. It will be updated for everyone, while at the same time some people will get access to more applications like the Ultra games. But as soon as we believe is the right time, according to different waves, we will roll out more access to more people.
So now it's kind of like playing poker with real money. It's different.
You can see that it's very simple for people now. They registered the account. It was simple. They didn't feel any blockchain aspect. They had token swap, so they had to deal with Ethereum. And sorry, we can't do much better about that side. It will always be a bit cumbersome to swap from one side to the other. If you're going to swap the other way around, you're going to see, yep, that's probably easier for you. You don't need gas, you don't need anything to do it. But essentially, yeah, the cool part that you can see now that it's not complicated to use a blockchain product, even if you're using only right now a wallet, and then the referral program, of course, and then all the different token swap and other transfer possibilities, but still it's simple. And that's what we strive for, is provide a simple solution for people who don't need to understand blockchain.
So I think we can start with, what is your definition for success when it comes to Ultra?
So I think one of the way we can define success is, of course, looking at the quantity and quality of games that are going to be published on Ultra. I would say definitely quality is more important than quantity. But then another thing that's super exciting for me is to see what people are going to do with our NFT, because our NFT is very different than what exists out there, and the possibilities are just phenomenal. So I'm looking forward to see, new things that are going to be done with this, and that's a very good way of seeing whether we're successful at what we do. And then of course the last aspect is how easy it is for people to onboard, and the quantity of people that onboard is going to reflect that. So if it's really easy, we will be able to onboard more people, and that's a very interesting and exciting aspect to me.
Is it simple for people to use? All large brands happy to work with us because they didn't have any headache to work with us and provide a new solution to their actual users. That's really important, that every time we speak with somebody, they have, they are doing things in a certain way for the moment, and we provide a new solution that can improve what they are doing today. And if we manage to do that, then it's already a really big win, because then obviously you have a lot of users, a lot of interest, because they already have those massive user base. So for us, that's an important point. And obviously, user growth as a whole is always critical. So yeah, hopefully that's going to be able to shine in the coming months and years.
All right, and I guess let's talk about the plans for Ultra and mobile gaming.
I would say in terms of mobile gaming, so it's obviously a huge segment of the industry. It's growing every year. It's been for the past 15 years. And essentially the mobile is always in our mind in the sense that all the tech stack we used are mobile compatible, which allow us to evolve into a mobile platform as well as PC. So this is, it's not the first requirement. So first we want a really good version on PC that works and a mobile to supplement this version. But the end goal is also to have mobile as a solution, like a long-term solution as well, because you want that for your wallet, you want that for your trading your NFTs, you want that as well to replace what you currently have. The problem now, today's problem is some of the companies, as we see how many lawsuits are happening, it's because there are some reasons behind that. It's very hard for people to work, for example, with the Apple device. You have to use specific their own mechanism and rules. It's a bit less of a headache with Android, but still. So it's very important market, but there is still some barrier to entry that we believe in the forthcoming future will be lower. It will be easier to interact with those platforms and provide a really good solution.
It's great to have you guys on board, and we're so excited to bring you guys more news, insider info, and in-depth details about what we've been building, why we've been building it, and how we believe it will shape the future of gaming and digital assets in the coming years. Make sure to subscribe and share this episode wide and far. So we'll see you next time, and keep it ultra chill.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Rami.
See you around.
Bye.